나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 나무 묘호랭개교 Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Hi, everyone. I hope this finds you in good health and secure. I wanted to talk today about master and disciple. Not master and servant, the Depeche Mode song. Some of you probably don't even know who that is. Master and disciple. There's, I believe, a tremendous amount of confusion about that. I think that it's been used, this concept of master-disciple, as a manipulative tool by many organizations, Buddhist organizations. And, I'm not here to talk about all sorts of schools of whatever in society. I touch on many different disciplines of human endeavors, but I'm here to talk about Shakyamuni's Dharma, right? Teachings. And with specificity around the Lotus Sutra Buddhist practice, which our contemporary teacher and mentor is Nichiren. So, saying all that, this topic of master and disciple, it doesn't come up very often in any sutra or Nichiren's writings or Tendai's writings, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that idea of master and disciple is so prevalent in certain sectarian or organizations, lay organizations? Why do you think that is? Do you not think it serves the interest of the organization, sect, whatever it is, to establish a hierarchy? I mean, isn't the words master, disciple a hierarchy? Why do you need a hierarchy? Right? It's our samsaric nature, our human nature. Our human nature being, so we understand what we're talking about here, attachment, identification, right? What's more identifying than a master and a disciple? Not only identifying them, but identifying their relationship, one above the other, right? It's extremely ego intensive. What does the master think about being a master? What does the disciple think about being a disciple? What does the disciple think about the master? And what does the master think about the disciple? I mean, this is the samsaric life, right? Because beyond the honorific thoughts about master and disciple, you can apply that to owning a dog, your father, your mother, your older sibling, your teacher in school. Look, it's no secret, I've talked about it many times. I grew up as a young child surrounded by martial arts. Judo and jiu-jitsu, primarily when I was very young, which expanded to the Chinese martial arts later in my preteens and teens. So the idea of master-disciple isn't lost on me. It was used constantly. My father certainly thought it was appropriate. His idea of a master I won't go into, but you can imagine, right? It's a sort of folklore that crosses cultures. We have movies about it. People doing insane acts of self-immolation in order to emulate or be accepted by a master. Come on, we all know what this lore is about. But as I said earlier, I'm here to talk about Buddhism. And the only time I've ever heard that terminology creep up in any way is in some translations where Nichiren may have mentioned or referred to a master-disciple relationship, but understands a critical point. He lived in the age of the samurai, and the very culture of Japan, whether you were a samurai or not, was based on a master-disciple hierarchy. So if it comes up in translations as a reference point, it's not appropriate to apply it to Buddhism. How can I say that? Sifu, it's everywhere. How could you say that? Okay, I'm going to repeat a very brief sentence that we've heard translated from Shakyamuni, from Tendai, from Nichiren himself, repeatedly. As soon as I say it, you'll go, oh yeah, you say that all the time, Sifu. Follow the law, not the person. Now think about that. Follow the law, not the person. If you're not following the person, then the whole idea of master-disciple just crumbles, doesn't it? Because master and disciple is all about person. Leader, follower, person. It's a cult of personality. That's not Buddhism. Now, a lot of you just got confused. Wait a minute. I thought you were my master, Sifu. And I your disciple. Okay, I don't want to beat you over the head with this. I want you to understand the power of words. We talk about Nichiren's disciples, yeah? But we never talk about Nichiren, the master. So I want to give you a thought tool so that every time you hear this repeated master-disciple, 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 I want you to convert it into an aha moment. You've heard me talk abstractly about teachers, another word that implies a hierarchy. Not like master-disciple does, but teacher. Are you a teacher? All of us, every one of us, no matter what your IQ, is a teacher. And so, when we hear that word teacher, we instill the same kind of samsaric logic to it as master-disciple. This one knows more, this one knows less. There's a transfer from this one to this one. That is the teacher teaching the student. But here's the thing. You and I and every sentient mind in the universe is a student. The teaching actually doesn't go from teacher to student. It's not in the middle. The teaching happens in the student. That's why I resist the label teacher. I'm just sharing my insights based on the duration and the depth of my practice and learning and realization in my own life, in the hopes that it resonates with your life so that you can hear what I say and teach yourself in your life whatever insight you need to grasp to strengthen your practice. That's not me doing it. That's you doing it. So teaching, teacher, student, all happens in the one. I want you to really understand that, because what I'm about to say is going to help you deconstruct and maybe just eschew altogether this concept of brainwashing of master and disciple, because it's extremely misleading. It dumps you down the road of separation from your own mastery. It puts you on the road to personality, cults of personality, instead of the law. What is the law? Do I need to remind you what the law is? Well, let me do it. The law is that Buddha-ness is already a part of your existence. It is the clear understanding, observation, and enthrallment of your act of being, moment to moment to moment. And I can't come over to you and grab your shoulders and shake you into that. I can't give you that. I can't take it out of my head and say, here, push it into your ear. I can't give it to you or push it to you or convince you of it. So how do you know Buddha-ness? How can you possibly know Buddha? Oh, yes, okay, it's already there. So, but how can I know it? It's all on you. You can know it if you choose to know it. This is what the Lotus Sutra is all about. This is, in fact, what Buddhism is about. When Siddhartha left remember the story? When he left the castle or the kingdom grounds of all his privilege, and he went out and traveled through town, whether you believe it is in one night or over time, he noticed pain and sickness and all the struggles and stress and anxieties of the people who weren't privileged like him. And he thought, legend has it, there's got to be a way to live life without, I've experienced it. As a prince with all privilege, I've experienced living life without all of these stresses and anxieties. Certainly, it's not just economic. Certainly, there must be a mechanism in our lives, in our minds, in our constitution that allows us to, no matter what our circumstance, feel the freedom of existence, the beauty of life, without all this stress and anxiety. This is what motivated Siddhartha historically to seek a universal law, a universal mechanism to release ourselves from this anxiety and he couldn't quite put it together. He studied for 6 years with Brahmins and 6 years on his own. And after a dozen years, the light bulb went on. How many of us have spent a dozen years trying to master what? What are we mastering? Our human lives, ourselves. Who's the disciple in that relationship? Is it starting to become clearer? Let me help you along a little bit further. This practice, this Buddhism, Lotus Sutra, and everything else is about self-perfection, self-realization, self-actualization. What are we actualizing? Being a better Bob, Ted, Alice, Betty? Name a name. I'm not trying to perfect Sylvain. I'm trying to attain a mind that transcends all of this stuff, that releases me from all my foibles and stresses and anxieties about ownership, being. Just be. Stop dragging everything along. That's the law. The law is enlightenment. The law is Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Actually, the law is Myoho Renge Kyo. The Namu part is our mastery, our samsaric relationship with our own observation, experience of the law. Myoho Renge Kyo, Buddha-ness. So if you have to use the terms master disciple, which I encourage you to leave aside, because it's too misleading. There's too much charisma around those words to not confuse you. Master disciple itself is a duality. And Buddhism is all about losing the duality. If you and I invoke Namu Myoho Renge Kyo, we are blowing apart the difference, the duality of Buddha-ness and earth-bound humanity, just bound and involved with attachments and gain and loss and emotions and all of this stuff. We still have all of the things. We're physical beings, but the being part of us is in our minds. And if we can awaken our Buddha-ness, then all of this stuff becomes the decorations of our being. Our stress and our anxiety about retaining and gaining and losing, it's irrelevant. If we can integrate, awaken, realize our true energy of life in the moment, living in it, amongst, without owning, losing, qualifying, without personages, without the hierarchies. This is the law. This is enlightenment. There is no master disciple. I know the tendency is to say, well, Buddha-ness is the master, and I, the human sentient mind, am the disciple. that's still stuck in samsara. That's still not getting it. That's still a cult of personality, even if you are the personality. Now, be careful here. I'm not suggesting nihilism. I'm not saying that Buddha-ness means you, Bob, don't exist. It's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying there's Bobness and there's Buddha-ness. And Bobness is the version of you, sentient mind, that's attached to everything. And then there's Buddha-ness, which is the version of you, unattached, liberated, amongst everything, without being drawn to, attached, possessing, losing, just being with all of it, as it too is being. Your samsaric instantiation, still Bob, but your sentient mind is Bob free, actualized, moment to moment. Do you follow? This is why we are resolved to guide our lives by our Buddha-ness rather than our Bobness. Make sense? Where's the master and disciple in that? Nowhere. Because master and disciple is duality. It is this very problem we're trying to escape. It is anti-Buddhist. So when I hear these experiences from people who've been with small organizations, large organizations, particular sects, and they repeat this master disciple, master disciple, master disciple, be very aware that that is a setup. That is a cult of personality. That is a form of authoritarianism that sneaks in the idea that you're the follower of a person rather than the law. That somehow there are persons in your organization. Maybe it's the president. Maybe it's the founder, so-called. Or maybe it's a lead monk. Or maybe it's even more local. Because that's, the org chart of authoritarianship, right? And that person will always be, forever in your life, superior to you. Did you hear what I just said? There is no one superior to you. You have the same Buddha-ness as I do, or any person. There is no master disciple. There is you and your mind. There is your mind in Bobness, and there is your mind in Buddha-ness. Everything's the same except your perception. And your perception is your experience. So if you want to experience enlightenment, if you want to experience Buddha-ness, then take your Bobness to your altar with a Nichiren inscribed mandala, a representation of one. Focus your mind on Buddha and actualize it. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Shakyamuni gave us the shortcut. And Nichiren made it supremely direct and easy to do. There's no worshiping. There's no wishing or praying. It's just something you need to decide to do. I, in all my bobness, Namu, am ready and able to instantiate my Buddha-ness. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Where's this duality? The Bodhi lives in the cusp of duality between knowing and not knowing, between experiencing and not experiencing. But that's an individual struggle of an individual sentient mind. This is what Shakyamuni taught his whole freaking life. And in the Lotus Sutra specifically, he called everybody out on it. Me, Shakyamuni, little old Siddhartha, you guys think that I attained something that you guys haven't? Stop it. I'm not your master. Huh? You're your master. If I'm going to use the terminology, I don't like it. They said, Buddha-ness isn't me. It's life, the entire universe. You are part of that. You are an instantiation of that. So be that. Here it is, Lotus Sutra, Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, do it. You are no different from me. There is no master disciple. There is just enlightenment waiting on you. That's the lifespan of the Tathagata chapter. I didn't invent it. Nichiren didn't invent it. Tendai didn't invent it. Shakyamuni pointed to it hard, big time. And a lot of scholars over the centuries got it. And now it's your turn to get it. There's no master disciple. There's only you and your perception. You want to experience this life without restrictions? What restrictions? Mental restrictions. Don't live in a life that's a cage of constructions limiting you. No matter what your station, no matter what your socioeconomic state, class, whatever, those are all samsaric impositions. For those to affect you, you have to own them. Why are you dragging that around? It's all happening in your mind. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Oh, here I am. My Buddha is. There is no separation. Although I travel in samsara as a physical, separate thing, I'm just a moment-to-moment instantiation of a bunch of karma like everything else is. In that way, I understand that the separation is an illusion. It's a construction. But I can deal. I can deal with that as long as I keep my mind in Buddha-ness. And because I can do that, I can see people, others, the world, everything for what it truly is. And that makes me grieve when I see them completely enthralled in their dualities. Oh, why do you do that? You don't need to do that. Let me show you a way out of that mental cage you've created. Look, chant with me. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Do you know what that is? No, I'm not your teacher. No, I'm not your master. I'm just a fellow you, sharing with you how you can release yourself from your construction, your cage, your samsaric limitations. You don't need to do that. That's just a default program, and it's getting in the way of your maximal experience of this life, which you won't get back. This is it, pal o' mine. You need to get to work. That's Bodhi. It really breaks down that simply. But, like most things that are true and simple, the samsaric disease makes it so difficult. Why is it a disease? Because it consumes us. How many times have I said, the illusion is that we possess things, people, ideas. But the truth is that it's the things and the people and the ideas that possess us, because we force that on ourselves. We don't need to do that. That's why it's a constructed reality. Follow? So please, if you hear somebody talking about master and disciple, immediately there should be a huge exclamation point and question mark that comes up in your head. See it. Master and disciple. What? What are you talking about now? 'Cause it ain't Buddhism. Right? I realize many of us have had that dialogue pushed at us, but now you understand, I hope, why that dialogue was pushed at you, to make you more compliant, to use your docility as a tool for your membership, your participation in something that has a corporate structure. None of us practices to be part of a group. Oh, I do, Sifu. That's not the goal of your practice. Please tell me it's not the goal of your practice. And if it has been, change it now, immediately. Your goal in this practice is enlightenment. Period. To commune with others to keep us honest on that path is the goal of a Sangha. But even Shakyamuni says it can be impossible to find people of like mind. It can be impossible to find people who understand the goal here, the transcendence of people, personages, to the law. No hierarchies, no structures, just being, moment to moment to moment to moment. In this world of samsara, but understanding always from the perspective, from the vision of equanimity. Do you understand that? Is that what we're doing together? That's chasing the law, not the person. Be clear. If we together are chasing that law, then we are Itai Doshin. We are many in body, but one in mind. We understand the goal of this practice is our intimate relationship and knowledge of Buddha, single-mindedly. As Nichiren repeats, single-mindedly strive to meet the Buddha, strive to be in Buddha. I hope, I don't know how to come at this any other way. If any of you can point to something I've missed in this dialogue. And remember, I started out by saying, look, from childhood, 2 years of age, I've been immersed in martial arts, where the terminology of master and disciple is quite clear. It's visceral. But even in that context, listen to me here. In the context of martial arts, the setup of master and disciple, the samurai in Nichiren's time, has always been that the master would set up goals for the disciple. Never be me. That's not a master. That's an egomaniac. A master trains a disciple to excel right past the master. Because the goal in martial arts originally, I'm not talking about what it's become in the Western world, or even the Eastern, but the goal of the master is to have the disciple achieve mastery of themselves. Remember Bruce Lee? Any of you fans of Bruce Lee? Bruce Lee, when asked, what style do you practice? He says, I don't have a style. You could say my style is my style, but it's not a style. It's not a label style. Why? Because Bruce Lee transcended the training and became a true martial artist, because what did he martial? His physical reality and his mind. With his mind trained, he understood how his body, his arms, legs, feet, head functioned optimally. That's real martial arts. To attain a transcended mind and experience that is so unified with the capacities and training of the body that he could make his body do whatever his mind required of it. Short of flying, as Bruce would say, I'm no different from you. I have 2 arms, 2 legs, a head, a body. But my integration of energy, mind, working with my energy of my body, am able to ask of it to perform in the ways, the mechanics that I need it to perform in order to achieve specific tasks. Mastery of himself. Not emulation of his teacher, his master. Right? The teacher, master label becomes very provisional then. He's not an all-knowing figure. He's somebody with knowledge of training that can help each disciple excel and transcend their student classification and become their own master. So if you understand it from that standpoint, you can see how it might have bled into conversations about Buddhist practice. But what I'm telling you is Buddhist practice leaves that far behind, because the teacher and the student here is you. We're holistic in that aspect. And the rest of us are teachers for others, as you and I are, as well as students, because when you ask me some questions, they come from a worldview that isn't quite mine. thank you. That expands my worldview. Thank you for teaching me. And I can apply or try to interpret from my points of view and my experience how to inculcate that into the goal, Buddhahood. The goal is always the same, the law. It's not about me. It's not even about you. You being, or me being, a samsaric definition of self. Always the goal is enlightenment. I don't know how to be any more clear. I will only know how to clarify this or encapsulate this better with your input. Ask me questions that are different than the ones I ask myself. And I'll chant about it and offer you answers that may provide insights that you hadn't had before, certainly that I hadn't had before. Or maybe there'll be a rehash. That's my limitation, I suppose. Maybe we're all thinking the same things, but we're using different words. As long as our goal is Buddhahood, we're on the right track. If language is being used around you that's sending you toward a person, even if that person is a group of persons, seriously question what you're doing and what you're hearing. Because those influences, we don't need. That's just another samsaric obstacle. Don't fall into that trap, please. Okay? So that's it. I'm not going to talk. Whoa, I talked a long time on that. Master disciple. Just get rid of it. It's a useless concept. It really is. I mean, we could provide tricks here. I could give you linguistics to try to help it define your practice. But I just don't think it's useful. It's always misleading because it's based on a duality that is a construction. The very thing we're trying to eschew. Yeah? Just single-mindedly pursue Buddha. Your Gohanzen, your door. Open it up to the blue skies of Buddha. I don't know what poetic I could come up with, but it's all you. Okay? Thank you. Thank you. It requires some degree of courage to go at this because it's on your shoulders. You're not a victim unless you choose to be. Again, it's all on you. Be Buddha. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Take care of yourselves. We'll get back to the Lankavatara in the next video, okay? I deeply appreciate you guys. It looks like I'm going to get an offering to Gohanzon from a wonderful patron, John. If you're watching this, you're a spectacular patron. You're such an amazing guy. Your practice is super strong. And, I'm using equipment from you here. And you're a patron on Patreon. You're doing so much work toward Buddha-ness and the law and supporting that. I am truly humbled by your support. I have no illusions that it's about me, but the work that I'm trying to do and your support in that, it's a point of honor, humility, and a reminder of the Bodhisattva discipline that I am constantly trying to live up to. And so when you guys, any of you guys, support this channel, even just liking and subscribing, but certainly if, like candles from Reggie, equipment, John has been an an amazing supporter in that regard, or financial, Mr. Fulkerson out there. Amazing, amazing support, you guys. I don't take that lightly because I know it's not about me. It's about what I'm doing. And you guys know that. And so, knowing that you know that, knowing what your offerings are for, I don't hesitate to immediately thank Gohonzon, all our Gohonzon, our enlightenment Buddha-ness, for the opportunity to be a part of, an instigator of this Sangha. There's no greater value to life. Mine, certainly. So, with deep appreciation, Nam Myo Renge Kyo. And I will see you in the next video. You best be here. I've always wanted to say that. I don't know why. Anyway, bye for now.